What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is a developing story, some breaking news, and that is that Bryant Gumbel is currently hospitalized in New York City after suffering some sort of, quote, medical emergency. Sources with direct knowledge say that the former Today co-host was transported yesterday, just after 9 p.m., from his Manhattan apartment building. Apparently, first responders had Bryant on a gurney as they left the building and took him to a nearby hospital where he remains as of this afternoon. It's unclear what happened to the 77-year-old broadcasting legend, but it's known that he is getting treatment. His representatives have not made a statement as far as what ails him or what his prognosis will be. There is a statement from an anonymous family member who said that Bryant is okay, but wouldn't reveal anything of specifics as to his medical condition or his current condition, which of course would be the proper thing to do. Bryant, of course, formerly served as co-host of NBC's long-running morning show Today for 15 years, first with Jane Pauley and then with Katie Couric. Of course, it became known after he left the Today Show that he had a rather tumultuous relationship with Katie Couric. Supposedly, he was verbally abusive to her. She accused him of being mean. Also, she accused him of being sexist and misogynistic. So they didn't have a very good relationship. Later on, of course, he became the host of HBO's acclaimed investigative series Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. And of course, we all knew his older brother, Greg Gumbel, who was also a broadcaster, primarily in sports. And of course, he was a long host of college basketball, I think on CBS. It was just last year that Bryant Gumbel passed away due to cancer at the age of 78. So my thoughts on Bryant Gumbel are this. I remember, unfortunately, Bryant Gumbel in the 90s being synonymous with the sellout brother, right? And I just took it as if that's a fact. He was a sellout. As a matter of fact, when you look at some movies in the 90s, when you look at the prototype of the sellout dude, he was almost always portrayed as a light-skinned to brown-skinned guy with curly hair and glasses. Think about Strictly Business. Think about what's that movie? I Got the Hookup. They always made him look kind of like this generic, like half-off brand brother who really didn't like the skin he was in. He was always trying to talk a little bit more proper. This is my name is Gregory Spectuniak, and my last name is Spectuniak, and you sort of look like your last name should be Specula. No, it's Speculia. See, what people don't understand is I know I look Afro-American, but when you do a little bit digging into my family history, I have a lot of Irish on my side of my family. I mean, you might as well just call me a black Irish. Fuck out of here. But it was pretty much just a given that Bryant Gumbel was a token. Like, that's just how the culture presented him. Matter of fact, what was it? Dave Chappelle? You had that sketch where, what was it? Paul Mooney played Negrodamus and said that, what was it? Wayne Brady who, also was a guy that was kind of questionable in our um, community as far as his blackness is concerned. He said that Wayne Brady made Bryant Gumbel look like Malcolm X, which, man, that means you really out there. And I always thought that was kind of unfair, man, because look, when I was growing up, I grew up, and I said this before, I think I've said this before, and sometimes it comes out a little bit in the videos. I grew up with a bit of a stammer, right? A little bit of a lisp, a little bit of a stammer. And, I went to, let's just say I improved my diction a lot, right? But I did it by reading a lot, reading out loud a lot, and listening to the proper spoken word. So what used to always annoy me is when I would talk to classmates, right? And initially I went to like a mixed school, right? But then, you had white flight become a thing in the 90s, and progressively, my classes in school became more black and black, right? But anyway, I used to get annoyed at the observation that I talk white. I used to hear that so often. Man, why do you talk like a white boy? Like, what do you mean? Like, you don't talk like a brother. Why do you speak the way you speak? And I'm like, what do you mean? Okay, so Malcolm X, is he talking white? He speaks proper English. Dr. King speaks proper English. Marcus Garvey spoke proper English. When did it become a thing where if you speak proper English, you try to be white? What is that? When did that start? So, I kind of grew defensive when people would automatically label someone a sellout just because of superficial things, just because of things that you observe of that person, because they speak a certain type of way, because they keep their hair showing short, or they have a conservative look to them, or they have a conservative bent to them. They don't talk about race much. Now, of course, there are some things about Bryant Gumbel that when you look a little bit further into it, you can understand some of the criticisms. Absolutely, right? But what I always trip off of with people calling Bryant Gumbel that is, you can have a lot of these black athletes who look a certain way. They look like they passed the smell test, but then look at how they talk and how they act when they're amongst the elite. And then you always see a white girl in their arm. But okay, so Bryant Gumbel with a white wife, he's a sellout, but the black athlete's not. Even though it's just, I just people pick and choose when they want to put their label out there, man. All I'm gonna say about Bryant Gumbel is I don't know the man. There are a lot of things I've heard about him that are shady as far as how he did certain things within the industry, and how he moved. But I've always thought that he was an excellent broadcaster. I thought he was, he had a lot of pressure on him because he was one of the first prominent black anchors and on one of the first black uh, anchors, I guess you would call them that, or broadcasters on a major program. I know Max Robinson preceded him, but people don't understand these guys have a lot of pressure on them. And we don't know all the other things he had to deal with behind the scenes. So anyway, tell what you guys think about that.